Alex, we're back.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Are you feeling better?
Yeah, as good as I can be, you know. I was really excited for Hockey Central this week because I didn't think there's going to be a lot of Leafs talk. 3 minutes into today's episode, good old Justin Bourne somehow compares the Panthers to the Leafs, and I was so upset.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. Usually on a bi-weekly basis, as I look at the Power Hour and the segments, I look at how I can relate it back to the Leafs. Now, it's a mixture of because I know it pisses you off and because it's just fun to do.
But I get it. I get that they're the center of the center of the world. I get it, but that doesn't mean I can't complain. Even
Oh no,
buddy, I feel bad I forget his name, but even JD Bunkus said on the Leafs Hour that, like, I get it. Like, it's not the best. It's annoying. He gets it, especially when he has to fill some time. Like, the bye week must just be terrible for him. I feel really bad.
they have to fill 5 hours of their radio show because they do the Leafs Hour on a daily basis.
Well, Alex,
I have no idea what they've been talking about.
Well, I know they talked with Chris Johnson about the trade deadline, and they had someone today about, I think it was Freddie's workload. I didn't really listen to it because I was like no, someone talk about Joe Quenneville. I mean, you know, we will talk about him, of course. But Alex, anyway, before we really get going, you know how we start the show.
The Power Hour.
It's the Power Hour. We have a big show today. Well, not really, because there's not much to talk about the Leafs and the Habs, but we'll try our best. We do have a little backup plan with Daniel not being here, where we actually, Alex, both of us have made trade boards, because the trade deadline, of course, is coming by quickly. So we'll get to that. We're going to talk about the 2020 Athletic Player Polls. Alex, have you avoided it still?
I only saw the one of them, which I told you about the dirtiest player.
Okay. And
I have not seen anything else.
We all knew who it was going to be. But anyway, to start the Power Hour is, I'm going to try and not laugh when because if this story has any validity to it, and well, considering the police are involved, but it's just, you read it and it's you can't help but laugh. It's really weird. Report: police investigating Gritty for allegedly punching 13-year-old. I'll just read a quick little bit here, but Philadelphia detectives are investigating a complaint made by a Flyers season ticket holder who alleges that his 13-year-old son was punched in the back by team mascot Gritty. Talks about how back in November there was a Philadelphia Flyers little shoot with season ticket holders, and the guy said, as Brandon, who is his young child, walked away, Gritty got out of his chair, took a running start, and punched my son as hard as he could, said Grimo on Wednesday. And apparently this was a retort from the kid, quote, playfully patted the mascot on the head at a photo shoot in November, for a season ticket holder. Now, Alex, I've only had 2 interactions with mascots. One was with Youppi when I went on a tour at the Bell Center. He was really nice, loved him. The other was actually Carlton the Bear at the first Habs game I ever went to. It was in Toronto, and the Habs had just blown a 2-0 lead. They won the game in the shootout, but Carlton saw I was sad, actually came over and gave me a hug. So, what do you make of these allegations against Gritty?
I know I shouldn't laugh, but it's a little bit funny.
He was I don't think anyone would have been surprised if Gritty had ended up being investigated for something, but abusing a minor would not be.
I mean, listen, it's really bad. Obviously, it's just bad. I really wanted to start the show off with this because I read it. It came out. I was actually sitting in class, and when this came out, I was so confused. I didn't even know what happened.
Also, some breaking news that Eli Manning Giants quarterback is retiring from the NFL. Now, I don't know a lot about football, but I've heard of Eli Manning, so congratulations to Eli Manning on a great career.
Yes.
Speaking
I don't know much about football either, but
speaking of great careers, though, Alex, Patrick Kane hits 1,000 points the other day on an assist. I believe it was a Dominic Kubalik goal. 1,000 points for Patrick Kane, a guy who, when we talk about the best player in the world, we talk about Sidney Crosby, we talk about Nathan McKinnon, but I don't think we ever give enough credit to Patrick Kane, who might be one of the best, if not the best, American-born players in this game's history.
yeah, for sure. Adam, are you ready? You want to see me make this? You want to see me do this?
Sure.
It really sucked that it didn't happen against the Leafs.
Yeah, it did. It did.
It really sucks. See what I tell you? It's so easy to make everything about the Leafs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Pardon?
Your co-host loves when you do that.
No, it's awesome that he got 1,000 points. It's kind of what we've been what we've been waiting for a couple episodes now, just because 999, then 1,000, which is a pretty big number. Last night he got a gold puck, I'm pretty sure, at the game against the Panthers, right? He got a gold puck?
Yes. As well as a crystal from the league. It was really weird.
Pardon?
The Blackhawks gifted him like this golden puck, and the league gave him this really fancy crystal thing. It was weird.
Listen, 1,000 points is pretty big. I mean, how many players? I think the number was 90.
Yeah, he's the 90th
player to ever score 1,000 points, which, considering how many players have played in the NHL, says something.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot more to do with the Blackhawks, and you mentioned they played the Panthers last night. That was Joe Quenneville's return, his first game in Chicago since being fired last season and being replaced by Jeremy Carlson, who is still getting booed by Chicago Blackhawks fans whenever they announce him at starting lineups. But before we go to the game itself and Joe Quenneville and maybe some of the post-game stuff with some of the players, let's talk about something that happened with the Blackhawks. There was a morning skate where Duncan Keith and Jonathan Toews and No Teeth Keith, the ghost of Duncan Keith, had a friendly wrestling match. Jonathan Toews did say he was fine. They were in that, like, for morning skate, you need to get your head in the game, and they did that even though they blew it against the Florida Panthers that same day. But what'd you make of this little, whenever there's a fight, it seems to make headlines in the NHL?
Honestly, I was a little confused on the whole situation. Just because, yeah, it made headlines, but again, we don't know really what happened. All we know is there was a disagreement, which is fine. I'm not concerned that we don't know what happened, but I don't know. Anthony Stewart was talking about it yesterday I'm pretty sure it was yesterday on Hockey Central. And he made it seem like this was kind of more of an occurrence in the NHL. And there's just a whole lot going on with, for me at least, looking around the league about fighting. And it's a whole separate issue. And I actually sent you some pictures this morning of some comments I saw on Facebook.
Yes, you did.
And it kind of, it was really weird, to be honest.
Sports need fighting. Fighting is good.
I never understood. Obviously, other than like MMA or boxing, which, listen, I'm not anti-fighting, but I'm like, when the point of the game, like, you look at other leagues who ban fighting, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, but I already started. You look at other leagues with, like, the MLB, you get suspended. NBA, you get suspended. NFL, which is arguably just as contact heavy as hockey, if you get into a fight, you're suspended. Why is hockey different? I don't know. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
You can make an argument that I don't know about you. Every time I talk to an American, I'll say sorry in like a little thing, and then they're like, "Oh, you're a Canadian, you're so polite." And but even though of all the big four sports league, the Canadian one is probably the most barbaric.
Yeah. Yes.
But back to the Blackhawks. The Panthers are probably two of the hottest teams in the league right now. It helps when half the league is on their bye weeks. But anyway, the Blackhawks winning streak came to an end last night versus the Panthers, and we talked about Joe Quenneville. He got a massive. I watched the first period of that game just so I could see the reaction. I've never seen a coach get such an ovation in my time as a hockey fan. Of course, won 3 cups in 6 seasons with the Blackhawks, and to a lot of people, I think me and you included, was probably unjustly fired because of the job Bowman did with that team. But anyway, did you see the ovation that he got, or hear it?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it live. I saw the clip on Twitter afterwards. I thought it was pretty much what he deserved, considering and I know he was given. He built, not technically built, but he was given this very good team. Still went out there and won 3 cups. Very well deserved. I didn't expect anything less.
Named Coach of the Decade was Joe Quenneville. Just a quick little thing I want to say about him is, what was always Florida's issues? They can score, but no goaltending. Well, guess what? They're getting no goaltending still, and Quenneville is still managing to steer that ship in a playoff position. And, of course, they're going to be a really interesting team to keep an eye out on the Panthers. They play the Leafs 3 more times this season. And where we are in said season is going to be just must-watch games because of, A, how entertaining they are, the storylines with the game they had a few weeks ago, and the playoff picture, of course. But changing gears here quickly, Alex, let's talk about a former Chicago Blackhawk, and that's AHL defenseman because he currently plays for the Bakersfield Condors for the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, yeah.
AHL defenseman Brandon Manning, who's played 9 games for the Oilers this season, has been suspended 5 games for use of a racial slur towards an opponent during a game between the Condors and the Ontario Reign.
Yeah, he put out a statement through the team last night. Basically, it said, "Last night I made comments to an opposing player that were stupid and offensive. After the game, I spoke with the opposing player in person, which I'm very grateful for. He allowed me to apologize, and I took full responsibility for what I've said. To say I've learned from this situation is an understatement, and I promise to be better." I mean, it's just another example of what's wrong in the game, and I get it. It was one situation, but I think this year has really opened a lot of eyes to what's really wrong, like down to the root of what is wrong in hockey today. And there's just a lot of work to be done, and I know the NHL is starting, or they're going to start doing certain things, but I think that's just the start of what actually needs to be done. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, and I'd agree with them, that people have to stop saying hockey is for everyone when clearly, like, once a month we get an incident that proves otherwise.
Exactly. Kudos to Manning that how quickly it seemed, he went out, apologized, talked to the player afterwards. But you know what? Again, we keep going to the hockey culture thing. It looks like now we're going to try our damnedest to have that discussion this weekend. And, of course, switching gears to some better news, Alex, I want you to tell me some stuff about Stephen Johns, Dallas Stars forward, who is finally back and playing.
So he's been out for 22 months. He just got back. He was diagnosed with post-traumatic headaches. Apparently, I did some research. The team said it wasn't related to concussions, which I would say that's a good starting point, especially if that's true. I don't see any reason to lie about something like that. But he's back, and I think it kind of comes off. Miro Heiskanen's now injured, and he's a good piece to have, especially for that team.
Mm-hmm.
So and then, congratulations to him for coming back.
Oh, yeah. Talk about another player who's coming back. He's been healthy, but Justin Williams is back with the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, we know that. His first game back gets the shootout winner. Then his second game back gets 2 goals against the Jets. And with the return of Justin Williams, Alex, I've also seen the return of the Storm Surge.
Yes, I saw it started, which is great.
Dodgeball.
Because you know how much certain people at Sportsnet love the Storm Surge.
I know you're thinking of Brian Burke, but Justin Bourne also doesn't like it, which is such a shame.
Such a shame.
Like of that cast, I thought that maybe Anthony Stewart wouldn't like it. Anthony Stewart, who, by the way, I'm becoming a bigger fan of day and day every time I listen to Hockey Central at noon again. But Justin Bourne is like, he just hates the fun, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's the fun police.
Well, that's what happens when you're an Islanders fan. You hate anything good in life. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, moving on. We do need some laughs because the next story is actually it's a downer. Corey Schneider is a fringe NHL goalie. I think it's safe to say that his permanent career in the NHL is probably done.
Yeah, it really does suck. And I know we've had a conversation about this outside of the podcast, so we might as well bring it in. Basically, he was sent down to the AHL during this bye week. I'm assuming they're on a bye week here. And you don't really see that happen to a whole lot of NHL players. You know, we saw Liljegren and Brooks for the Leafs at least sent down. I don't know about the Canadians. You see it happen a whole lot that those players who should get ice time tend to be sent down. And I guess Schneider is turning into one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Which kind of sucks for him because, you know, he had such a good thing going for him in Vancouver. And then he kind of came to New Jersey, got injured, especially that hip injury, and it doesn't seem like he ever really fully recovered from that, and things have just kind of been going downhill from there.
Well, we can finish the Power Hour off with some good news, and we talked about hockey culture a bit, and a guy who's really been at the forefront of trying to change hockey culture, of course, has been Akim Aliu, has signed in the Czech League with, I'm going to mispronounce this, but HC Litvinov.
Litvinov.
Of course, that is the league where Yager owns a team, so, I mean, Akim
And
Aliu,
you know who else plays in that league?
would it be the turtleneck wearer himself, Tomas Plekanec?
Leafs legend, Thomas Plekanec.
I am so tempted to hang up right now. Who said that? It's so disgusting because my mom's a big Plecky fan. Like she wears jersey and everything. And Nick Suzuki now wears number 14. So we were at the game. We were at the Vegas game, and they had at the intermission, the thing where they try and shoot the pucks into like the small holes for like $50,000. And this woman had a number 14 jersey on, but it was Nick Suzuki. And it was just heartbreaking. It's not real. Not real at all. Alex, I'm upset I don't actually know this. What jersey do you have? Which player on it?
Where?
Like, you have a Leafs jersey, obviously.
I have some, yeah.
Yeah, what's your go-to? Like, whose number and name do you got on?
Right now, my go-to is John Tavares, 91 with the A on it.
You got to get that sewn on, buddy. All right, fair enough. It's weird that I didn't know that, but anyway, Alex, I have prepared a pop quiz ahead of time.
Oh God.
Today.
Okay, I have a question for you before you get to the pop quiz, because I was on Twitter this afternoon, and I saw something trending, and I have this weird feeling that I know what your pop quiz is going to be about.
It's not that, but I want you to bring it anyway because I'm so happy about this.
Does it have anything to do with them announcing the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars?
First of all, actually, it has been known for about a year now that it was coming, but today was just the final trailer. What had people like really excited was because it had Maul and Ahsoka, and also there was a clip of Anakin and Padme, and they had some stuff blended in from Revenge of the Sith. So people are seeing that like the last episode or something, they're going to very much integrate stuff from Revenge of the Sith. It is not a Clone Wars quiz, even though I will put down next week, Alex.
Is it a Star Wars quiz?
It is not Star Wars, but I promise you now, we will have a Star Wars: The Clone Wars quiz on Saturday. So keep it up.
You don't need to promise me that because I'm not excited.
I'm gonna because Alex, my job here is to steer the show, right? But I'm gonna drop the anchor for a second here because I need to tell people that, like, listen, I know you're here for the hockey talk. Or, you know, if you're me and Alex's mom and you're here to support your children, people don't just because something is an animated show doesn't mean you should discredit it and not give it any mind. Like the character, you know, the animation, the cinematography. Again, you don't look at it and just say it's a cartoon, but like the storyline, the character writing is so good in that film. In that series, it has no right to be that good, but it really is. But no, Alex, today's pop quiz is on dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
On what? Sorry, you cut out there.
Jurassic Park / dinosaur.
Do I look like I know anything about dinosaurs?
Well, first, Alex, I'm going to ask you, you know how the normal layout works. You need 5 points.
Yeah.
Question 1 to 4 are 1 point. The fifth question is worth 5 points. Once Daniel's on and we have a real quiz thing going, I'll kind of make this a bit more serious. But question number 1, which Jurassic Park movie is the best film? I'm very biased.
The first one.
That's the correct answer, by the way.
Okay.
The first, it's a perfect movie. I can quote every single line. Question number 2, Alex. Which dinosaur is the coolest?
T-Rex.
That is also right, Alex. You're doing very well so far. Alex, really, if you just know me, you're going to get most of this right. What is the nickname of the T-Rex in the Jurassic Park series? He does have a nickname.
What?
What is the nickname? The nickname of the T-Rex that you there is a single T-Rex that recurs in all the movies except 2 and 3. That T-Rex has a nickname.
Man, I got no idea.
The answer is Rexy.
What is he, a hockey player?
I actually think it's a girl, but I know the trash nickname, isn't it?
Is it a hockey player? You just add a Y to the end of their name?
Brooksy! How are you doing?
What is this?
So, Alex, have you seen the first Jurassic Park movie?
I have, but I don't remember it as well as I imagine you remember it.
I want you to describe chaos theory to me.
I have no idea.
All right, Alex.
I told you I don't know this. You're asking me to describe chaos theory.
It was,
Chaos theory would be if Montreal literally tore everything apart. That would be absolute chaos.
You know what, Alex? I'm going to give you the point there. Because I don't really know. It's like things just go wrong for the hell of it. Which, in the markets that we cheer for, happens a lot. This is the fifth question.
Every other week.
Every other week. I want you to name me 5 types of dinosaurs. You should be this. This is
honestly
such a question.
Okay, T-Rex.
Yeah, okay.
Velociraptor.
All right, Velociraptor. I'll take it. Alex,
Stegosaurus. Wait, is that a thing?
Cool. Okay. A Stegosaurus is real, yes. Oh, I don't want to.
Pterodactyl.
Alex, I will take pterodactyl. You need to get one more dinosaur.
I'm not gonna lie, a Pokemon name just came into my head.
Oh my god!
I'm not even gonna lie. I don't know why, but whatever. I have no idea, man.
Are you serious? You can't name me a 5th dinosaur. Are you throwing in the towel?
Yeah, I don't know dinosaurs.
An Allosaurus, a Spinosaurus.
No, I know Oh, I know Triceratops.
Well,
I didn't know the first two.
You've lost the quiz, Alex. So just go.
That sucks.
What's your read of the bye week? I'm so disappointed.
Second. Oh, my read of the bye week is from Ian I believe it's Ian McIntyre from Sportsnet, and it is called It's a Q&A with Jim Benning from Ian McIntyre.
What did you like about it?
I liked the fact that they talked about some of the like they talked about Brendan Sutter and Louis Eriksson. That's what I liked about it.
Well, Alex, that's a good one.
And they talk about like going from the thing that stood out was the fact that they talked about going from 2012 till now and the ups and downs especially after those riots, what it's been like.
The ups, Pedersen, Besser, and Hughes. The downs, everything else.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, do you want to know what my read of the bye week is?
Sure.
Well, that's a great question, Alex, because mine is from The Athletic by the staff. The 2020 NHL poll, players have their say on the best player, worst referee, drinking buddies, and more. You're shaking your head. I have had that transition ready since the moment I saw this article.
Unbelievable.
All right, Alex. So, just to read a bit from this article here, the way at the end of the day, NHL teams, all 31 teams, and nearly 400 players in total, 392 to be exact, are the amount of people that were interviewed for this little poll here, ladies and gentlemen. Who doesn't love a poll, Alex? Number one.
I love polls.
Who is the best player in the game? Now, there are 5 answers here.
McDavid.
Well,
you even need to...
Thank you for completely stepping on the progress.
You don't even need to answer the question.
Well, some players that got some votes but didn't quite make it to the top were John Carlson, Draisaitl, Patrice Bergeron, Austin Matthews, Johnny Huberdeau, Patrick Kane, Alex Ovechkin. Just a quick thing for me. I don't think Ovechkin ever gets enough respect when we talk about the best player in the world. We call him the best goal scorer like nothing, but not the best player. By the way, 63% of players did say Connor McDavid. McKinnon, 17%. Crosby only got 15%. Then, of course, Pastrnak and Eichel also got 1%. But the interesting thing to me here, McKinnon 2% more than Crosby.
Yeah, that was interesting. That's very surprising.
This quote stood out for me here. I think guys who say Crosby at this point are mostly just being nice. McDavid's the guy added an Atlantic Division player. I think, first of all, whoever that Atlantic player is underestimating Sidney Crosby, which you do not do, by the way. I think if he wasn't hurt, there'd be some more answers here. This is my favorite question, which might give away the answer. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Aside from your own goalie, who do you want to start?
Is the answer Carey Price?
The guy who got the most votes, 10% more than second place Marc-Andre Fleury, was Carey Price.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear some of the things that players said about Price?
Sure.
I don't think he has the numbers that he would normally this year, but he's pressure tested, he's battle tested, said the Pacific Division player. He's just been so good for so long. Everyone, especially in that position, has their ups and downs, said the Pacific player from a different team. He always finds a way to bounce back. In a Game 7, regardless of how he's been playing in the past few months, I feel like he can just bring it. And he's so technically good, he always has that to fall back on. Jordan Binnington also, by the way, got the same amount of votes as Tuukka Rask, both at 7%. Vasilevsky also at 11%. Binnington just did it. This is a quote, sorry. Quote, Binnington just did it. How can you pick anyone else? End quote, said the Metro Division player.
My God. Yeah. Well, that's so nice.
Oh, yeah.
So
that
nice
was definitely... Who's a Canadian in the Metro? It wouldn't be Sid, because Sid would only praise man. But anyway, number 3. Who was the most underrated player? Who do you think got this?
Is it Barkov?
22% said Alex Barkov. 9% said Huberdeau. 8% got Backstrom. 3% Spurgeon and Braden Point.
Braden Point got how much?
3%, sorry. Him and Spurgeon both got 3. Now, Alex, I don't know about you, but I think Backstrom is still the most underrated player in the league. And I say that because everyone would just say, "Oh, he's underrated." But I don't think we actually. I think we just say that. I don't think we really sit down and realize how good Nick Backstrom is.
You know what the thing is with saying players are underrated is when everyone says they're underrated, they're not underrated anymore, because you're all rating him to that level that you want him to be. Because he's not underrated at that point. If everyone's saying he's underrated.
Alex, I don't think
everyone talks about Nicholas Backstrom and how good he is. How many times last year did we talk about Barkov?
See, I will.
The times he played in Toronto.
Yeah, which is very annoying. Yeah, the moment he had that hat trick against the Leafs, you can't say because everyone finally saw how good he was. Also, interesting, the Huberdeau. Normally, it takes a while for somebody to get. If you've always looked at the underrated polls, it's always been these guys: Point, Backstrom, Barkov. It's interesting to me how quickly Huberdeau got up there.
Yeah, because they all realized that he was good.
Alex, this is the most interesting one for me. Who is the dirtiest player in the league? And we all know it was Brad Marchand at 29%, Tom Wilson's 24%, Tkachuk is up to 11%, Radko Gudas is at 7%, and 3% noted Habs hater, but the guy who turns the puck over when his team's playing the Habs, Antoine Roussel. Now,
yeah, I would have thought Tom Wilson was up there, like number one, but that's the one I saw. I saw it was Brad Marchand. So.
Now, excuse me, I'm going to do a bit of reading here because I think these are some of the most interesting quotes when they talk about these dirty players. So, Alex, you might want to get the sense. You know, I won't swear because I don't want to make you do extra editing here.
Thank you.
Nobody's dirty, a Pacific player said. I know guys cheat. There's a lot of rats in the league. Matt Tkachuk's a rat. Brad Marchand's a rat, but I wouldn't call them dirty. Now, this is a Pacific player, this comment I'm about to talk about Brad Marchand. Quote, Brad Marchand could do some shady bleep. End quote. Let's go with Brad Marchand. He's a little prick. Prick is not a swear word, by the way. And a lot of people talk about Tom. This is from another Pacific Division player. I was thinking Tom Wilson. He does some stupid bleep, but he can play the game at least. He walks the edge and is very effective on his team. Now, Alex, who would you say that the players voted as the best defensive defenseman in the league?
That's a good question.
It is.
I am not too sure. Who did they say?
Well, fifth place with 5% was Jacob Slavin. Tied were Ryan McDonough and Mark Giordano at 6%. Shea Weber was second with 10%, and leading with 17% was Victor Hedman. Sorry.
Interesting.
I really like that.
And yeah, because Shea Weber's second, that's why you like that.
Well, I think Hedman is one of those guys who is actually a real Norris Trophy caliber defenseman because he can play in both ends of the ice, which not a lot of defensemen can do nowadays.
Right. Yeah, but Hedman makes sense.
And look at what happened to Tampa Bay last year when he was hurt in the playoffs. They got swept. Now, question 6, A and B, we have the best and worst referees in the league, Alex. Now, if I asked you, how big of a did Wes McCauley win?
I wonder who won best referee.
So, at fifth, we had Francois Saint Laurent, Tim Pio at 3%, Dan O'Halloran at 3%. Kelly Sutherland got 15%, and Wes McCauley won with 71%.
Oh my God!
Now, here's what's really interesting. Francois Saint Laurent won. So he was 1% in best referees, but Justin St. Pierre Oh no, sir, I got that completely mixed up. They were two French guys. I saw Saint. Sorry, and Justin St. Pierre, 42% is voted the worst referee in the league. Tim Peel's up there at 12% as well.
That must be great to know the players think you're the worst ref.
Now, I do have to give some context here. This is what The Athletic put after this. This was the toughest question to get answers to. Of our 392 players, only about half gave an answer for best referee, and only 38% had an answer for the worst referee. So we've got a smaller sample size here. Take the results with an added grain of salt. And they were not good words said about, Justin St. Pierre, but I will not say them here, but some of the ones here, he's the worst, bar none. This is really, really funny from a Metro player. Quote, I hate picking St. Pierre because he'll probably be happy if he wins it.
I really want to hear what Steve Dangle has to say about Wes McCauley.
You know that he lands in St. Louis and just loses it. Which player not on your team would you most likely have a beer with?
Oh. Interesting.
Take a guess. Alex is looking confused. He doesn't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of players here, but
with 14%, it was Alexander Ovechkin.
Really? That guy looks like he can party.
Somebody does bring up after watching him after the Cup, I think fun said the Pacific player, it would probably be a wild night. Then second to 12% were both Joe Thornton, Sidney Crosby, Keith Yandel at 6%. I don't think we don't talk about him because he's in Florida, but Keith Yandel seems to be a real favorite in the locker room. And 5% was Brett Burns. I would love to hang out with Brett Burns.
Yeah, I could see why they want to hang out with Alex Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna the part about outdoor games because I don't really care. This is I think one that is very, very interesting to me. And Alex, I am going to make you censor one thing because I think this is a really funny answer. So, do you pay attention to analytics or advanced stats? Sorry. 14% said yes, 86% said no. And the quote here is, quote, no, said an Atlantic player. I think they're stupid.
Oh, God. Good.
Here's something here I think is really interesting. One Atlantic Division player summed up the issue very thoughtfully. Quote, I think it's intuitive for us. I know when I've been shelled on a shift or a whole game, he said, we know that I don't need someone to tell me that I've been doing this for a long time. You just know if things are going well or not, whether it's shot attempts against or whatever metric is being used. If I was a player, Alex, I wouldn't give a crap about analytics. I don't blame them.
Okay. Wait till they go negotiate a contract.
Okay, wait, hold on.
When someone pulls out, I guarantee you that when Kyle Dubas was negotiating any of those contracts, analytics came up more than once. I mean, I guarantee you it didn't when Ken Holland was meeting with Zach Kassian, but
I don't know about that. I think like if you brought a spreadsheet to Brian Burke when he was running whatever team, let's say Toronto.
But now you're talking about a different time. Yeah, because he's stubborn.
He was running a team not that long ago. Ken Holland's an old school guy. I don't think he's going to care.
Okay, so you go ask Kyle Dubas about stats, and you go ask Chaika about stats, and you let me know what they say.
That's two general managers.
But that's what it's moving towards. Why do all teams have analytics department except one?
Listen, if I'm a player that, let's say I'm going to say I'm Alex Pietrangelo. I'm the captain of the Cup winner. You know what? This year I'm about to negotiate a contract that will set up my kid's future and what he just had triplets. You know, I come to the rink. This is my life. I do all this travel, this training.
It's,
Why the
it's
hell?
not okay. Yes, being a UFA is a complete. I'm not talking about you. You're talking about an extent. If we're talking about an extension with your own team, if he hits the free agent market, no one's bringing up analytics because you're competing with other teams. When you're talking just to your own team, you're not competing with anyone at that point.
If you were a player,
Yeah.
would you care about analytics?
Not every single analytic, but I'm like, okay, where can I get better? Analytics can show me where I can get better. That's a fact. Like everyone's talking about. There's a reason. Again, 30 out of 31 NHL teams have analytic departments.
Well,
they don't. A team like Ottawa isn't cluelessly going to spend money on analytics if analytics weren't important, knowing how much they don't like spending money.
Hey, listen, if we want to trash the Sens,
no, I'm not trashing the Sens. It's just not every team can spend millions of dollars like the Leafs and Habs. Like there's teams that can't throw money around, right?
Yeah, but talk about. I'm just saying, like from a player's point of view, I get it.
Well, yeah, I get it too. They probably don't want to hear about it.
If you're Cody Ceci, he probably has Ian Tulloch blocked, right?
Probably.
He doesn't listen to Steve Dangle. He
probably doesn't listen to a whole lot of people.
No. God, he's a weird player, as Cody Ceci, isn't he? Really player. But anyway, Alex, I think that's going to be a close to all of that. Player polls, I love them. I want as big a sample size about the analytics as I can. And also, I'd love to know the players who really do pay attention to it. I really would. And you can guarantee the ones who do are going to be ones that are going to be coaches or GMs in the future. But moving on here, Alex. We've made trade bait boards. Would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was quite difficult to make this board because I really had a big list of players who I thought could potentially be moved. But this is pretty much the top 10. I don't necessarily think – I think they're pretty much in as much of order as I could have put them in. But we'll see. Number 1, I have Chris Kreider, our UFA at the end of the year with the Rangers. I think the Rangers – I mean, they also have Georgiev, who's also on my list. But Kreider's one of those guys you move, bring something back. He's been linked with a couple teams, one of them being the Bruins, which I really don't like. But we'll see about that one. Number 2, I have Ilya Kovalchuk. Simply because and we're gonna get to this later about what the Canadians are doing because it is that time of the month that they're gonna be making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kovalchuk's one of the guys, if they are going to sell, is going to be moved and can get you some type of pick. I don't know what round, but he's also UFA at the end of the year, 700,000. So he basically has nothing on the books.
That's fair.
Number 3, I have Alec Martinez. He's a UFA at the end of next year. I believe he has $4 million against the cap, and I this is an interesting one because I think there would be teams who could go after him because he's a left-hand shot who can play on the right side too. I believe I don't remember where I was reading this, but at some point what the ask was like a second round pick and a prospect. Which seems quite low considering what they got for Jake Muzzin last year, unless a lot of teams don't value him as much. But I think if you move him, if you're the Kings, you move him now because he probably has more value because you get that second cup second cup run that you wouldn't get next year. Number 4 is Martinez teammate Tyler Toffoli, who I think a lot of people have at number 2, but I think the way Kovalchuk's been playing and Martinez being a defenseman, I think both of those players go above Toffoli, just because I don't think Toffoli's been having the best of season so far. He's also not playing on the best of teams, but that's a whole different situation. I have here that Friedman reported the cost to land Tyler Toffoli was a second round pick and a prospect.
I'd do that.
I would do that too. That seems low. And you know who can make a deal like that? The Boston Bruins. They've been linked to both Toffoli and Kreider, and I wouldn't be surprised by trade deadline day, because nothing happens on trade deadline day. By that day, if one of those two players are Boston Bruins, because it seems like that's consistently something they're looking for, bringing in a kind of that second line player just for the run. They brought in Rick Nash a couple of years ago. Last year they brought in Charlie Coyle, ended up signing him to an extension. That is exactly what they're looking for. Alex Georgiev came in for me at number 5 simply because the Rangers are in a situation that at some point they're going to have to get rid of a goalie. Despite the crazy asking price for Georgiev. And I understand why he has that asking price, just because, he's young, he has potential to be a starter, and he's been outstanding lately. He's played around 65 games. Last time I checked, he played 65 games in the NHL. So he can't be sent through waivers. The only goalie of the 3 that can be sent through that can go to the AHL is Igor Shesterkin. I don't think that's going to happen either, because in the NHL he has been phenomenal. He's been pretty darn good. I think they have to move Georgiev, and I think at some point they're going to be pressured to move him, because I don't know how long you can possibly have 3 goalies, considering next year they still are going to have 3 goalies.
Yeah, by the way, in 3 games, Shesterkin has a .929 save percentage, so yeah, he's pretty good.
Number 6, I have Sami Vatanen. Obviously, UFA at the end of the year, so anything could happen. I think a team who needs a right shot defenseman or just wants to bolster their any pairing could go after this guy. It would be he's on. The thing with Sami Vatanen is I don't think this year a whole lot of people have been talking about Sami Vatanen just because he has not been playing as well. He's playing on a poor team. But I think you put him in a different situation. I think he'll thrive. Obviously, we've had this discussion before. Bringing him to the Leafs, I think, would be beneficial for him and the team.
Yeah.
Number 7, I have Pajot, who's kind of the reason I have him so much lower is because he just has no one's been talking about him lately. At the beginning of the year, he had such a good start. Everyone was talking about him, and his value was just rising and rising and rising. It was rising. Then he slowed down, and it just didn't seem like a whole lot was being said about Pajot. But I still think if he's the type of guy that can be traded from the Senators and get you something, and I don't know I think he's one of the guys who likes it in Ottawa. Could he potentially be a guy that re-signs in Ottawa? if he gets traded.
He's the marquee centerman available. So you're going to have, if somebody's looking for one, you're going to be the one with the most value. So,
Right.
but whatever. I think that's a case where you see what the best offer is, and then you decide if it's not good enough, then you try and keep him.
Number 9, I have Jeff Petrie. Number 8, I have Jeff Petrie.
All right.
2 years left. We already talked about Montreal selling. He would be probably, if Kovalchuk wasn't doing so well, I'd have Jeff Petrie higher up on this list because he seems like the perfect guy for the team to sell on and get assets back, considering he has this year and next year.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, I have Zach Bogosian. I really think there is some type of market for Bogosian because he has 1 year left. The Sabres can retain on him, and he's a right shot defenseman.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
And we had this discussion outside the podcast. You said, why don't the Leafs go out and get him? I mean, they could. I'd argue he's better than Ceci. He's better than Marincin. I don't know if that's. I think at this point, if you're adding anything on D, it has to be some type of needle mover. Number 10. Sorry, I have Robin Lehner.
Okay.
And we had this discussion last episode about what the Blackhawks need to do with their goalie situation. I don't think it'd be smart of them to keep Robin Lehner, sign him to a long-term extension, because I think they need to do some type of rebuild. Or I don't think Robin Lehner. I think Robin Lehner can go somewhere else and do better.
Same. And I mean,
I think he's the. You can. Pardon?
No, go ahead.
I think you can get more for Robin Lehner than you can for Corey Crawford. And based on Stan Bowman, you look at he brought back Brendan Saad, he brought back Andrew Shaw. It makes a whole lot of sense that he is not going to bring back Robin Lehner, and he'd rather keep Corey Crawford.
Fair enough, then. So, to recap your list, you have Kreider at 1, Kovalchuk 2, Martinez 3, Toffoli 4, Georgiev, Vatanen, Pajot, Petrie, Bogosian, and Robin Lehner.
Yes.
Do you want to give an honorable mention?
Jimmy Howard.
Jim Howard. I was thinking of Jim Howard. I won't lie to you. My list was at 17, so there's been some cuts. There's been some cuts. Number 1, I have Chris Kreider because I mean, why wouldn't he be the best? You know, he's not this 34-year-old who's all of a sudden had a great stretch with the French guys.
I think most people do. Yeah. I think most people have him at number 1.
Yeah, and I mean, he's like a player that he would fit great in Boston. He's the type of player you think the Leafs would just love to have, or their fan base. You talked more about Kreider. I can't stand the guy because Carey Price. Number 2, you were right. I had Toffoli at number 2. I've been high on Tyler Toffoli for a long time. I think if the Habs do make a decision to try and go for it, considering they have an extra second rounder, I wouldn't be surprised if they went for Tyler Toffoli or a guy we're going to talk about a little later, or I will talk about a little later on this list. But yeah, I have Toffoli number 2. By the way, me and you have 3 differences, and my first one is number 3. This is a guy who's been on the trade market for a very long time, and I think that he's finally going to get moved, and there's a team that is looking for some forward help, and they have cap space now. And that is from the Minnesota Wild, Jason Zucker. Apparently, Bill Guerin is doing the same thing as Bergeron. He's listening to the offers out there, and I think you get a very pretty penny for Jason Zucker.
Okay.
Number 4, this is a guy, like, Toronto media loves to try and trade William Nylander. There's not a player I love to try and trade more than my number 4 guy, and that's Andreas Johnsson. I think that the Leafs will make a move for defense, and I think Andreas Johnsson is the guy that they're going to get rid of. I wouldn't trade Kapanen. I really wouldn't. I think a lot of people, have started to favor Kapanen more. I do think the two of them are a bit overvalued by Leafs fans at times. They're not like Adam Wilde said that they move the needle. I was like, okay, but how much do they really? Like, Kapanen doesn't fit in the Leafs' top 6. He probably could somewhere else, but anyway. But I really do think if you decided to trade Andreas Johnsson, I think you could get something real nice back. And I think if you packaged him, maybe with a CC as a sweetener and maybe a pick or two, you could try and get Matt Dumba.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it going to be, okay, you know how it used to be Brown, Nielsen in a second?
Yes.
Is it going to be Janssen, Bracco in a second?
With CC at half retained. But I don't know what it is about Andreas Johnsson. I just love trying to trade him. Number 5, I have Ilya Kovalchuk. The only reason I have guys above him is because if I'm another team and I see a Janssen or a Zucker available, I'd love him. But at the same time, I don't want to undervalue Ilya Kovalchuk because he has been good. But at the same time, he has to keep going here. There's still another month before the trade deadline. So number 5, Ilya Kovalchuk. Number 6, I have him one spot higher than you. I have Jean-Gabriel Pageau, just because I don't think you can ever underestimate the price of a centerman in this league. Number 7, I have a guy I'm a very, very big fan of, and that is Erik Gustafsson of the Chicago Blackhawks, because this is what I see the Blackhawks doing, because they always do the thing that makes the least amount of sense. They will try and hold on to both those goaltenders instead of trying to pay Erik Gustafsson, and they will lose him and somehow Leonard as well. I don't think they're going to trade Leonard, and I know you had him, and I think the joke with us is that the Blackhawks aren't very smart, but if I was the Blackhawks, I would try and keep Leonard, because if I'm the Blackhawks, I'm doing whatever sorry, I should rephrase this. The way I look at the Blackhawks is they're going to do the stupid thing, and that means instead of trading Leonard for the assets, they're going to try and keep this whole thing together, thinking that they could go on a run here. I know they've been hot, but I just don't believe in it. This guy I have a lot lower than you, just because I think his injury has maybe scared people off for this year, and you still have a chance to move him next year if he doesn't get you what you want this year, and that's Alec Martinez. I think if anyone was going to try and get him, it was going to be the Habs before the Scandella deal. Now, if they turn into sellers. Number 9, I have Sami Vatanen. I'd probably maybe have him a bit higher up, but at the same time, I don't want to move down to centerman or Erik Gustafsson. And I have a sweet spot for lefties like Gustafsson as opposed to righties, even though I probably should have Vatanen higher, but my own bias is there. And number 10, a guy who I think a guy's lost a lot of kind of spark with me lately because of all the stuff with Toronto and that. I have Alexander Goryev. You're not gonna get Kapanen or Johnsson. I understand that, but you don't need to dedicate how many segments on radio about it. What do you know? A guy's trying to trade someone and trying to get a lot of value for him. But I do think Georgiev will be moved because I don't see you getting rid of Lundqvist. I just can't do that. He'll probably be gone at the end of next year, but I just don't see anything. And my honorable mention is one of Travis Hamonic or TJ Brody. And yeah, that's my list.
I like it.
Thank you.
I do like it.
All right.
I thought about Hamonic and Brody. Like, I had them in my longer list. I just didn't think it was justified to put them in, considering Calgary were going to make a push.
I'm going to keep this list saved. I have both our lists up here, and let's see if anything does come of it, and maybe we can do something if one of us is more right than the other Alex. But anyway, we've moved on from the trade bait. We have the Habs, we have the Leafs. Who do you want to talk about first? There's not much here, but we can try and get something.
I mean, you can go first. Not a big deal.
See, I put something in the notes that said it's the bye week. What can we really do? And I think now we just look at it and we think, what do the Canadians do after they won 4 of their 5, even after a game where he allowed a lot of goals. Carey Price was a 935 save percentage in this glorious year of 2020. Ilya Kovalchuk has turned into a god for the Canadians. And that is why I think Mark Bergevin will make the wrong decision, and he will be a buyer, and he will try and go for Tyler Toffoli. And I think it is the right move? No, I think it's time. I've talked about it before. Maybe it is time to trade your price and your Weber and see what goes. But at the same time, if Bergevin goes for it, at least there's a bit more investment for me. And I think my videos will be even better because if things start falling off if he goes for it, I get more angry and there's more quality for my videos. So, Alex, it's either that or dernière for Lafrenière. So I can't lose here. That's what I think is going to happen with the Habs.
I don't think they can fall off enough to make the bottom, to get to the bottom.
They're in a position where they're too good to be garbage and they're not quite good enough to make it, and they are starting to...
Sounds like the Minnesota Wild.
No, they're not that bad. I will not... We don't have Parise, all right? I will not take that, but they are starting to get there. They actually have prospects in that. What do Minnesota have?
I have no idea.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna... There are some... You can make those connections, but they're not in that bad. They're not in that tough of a spot, even though you think about it, all right... An aging, really, really good top two defenseman and a really good Vezina caliber goalie who best years they are wasting. But
who's also aging.
Yes, but at the same time, we don't have stupid deals like Scandella, and we're not going to go, oh my god, I was going to say, we're not going to trade our other great right-handed defenseman, Mac Dumba, but I'm like, oh wait, Jeff Petrie. But still, they don't have Jared Spurgeon locked up for 8 years like Minnesota do. So, oh my god, Alex, they're starting. They're almost there, but they're not that bad. All right, they have Cole Caulfield and Romanov are coming, but yeah.
You understand? You're talking yourself into it. I haven't even said a word.
Yeah, no, it's. I am confident saying they are not in as bad a position as the Minnesota Wild. I refuse to say.
As you talked yourself, you were talking. It sounded like you were very much convincing yourself that they were almost there.
The only bad deal on the Habs is, and Carl Alzer's been buried, and the Habs have cap space, so it's not a problem. Yeah, you have Weber and Pricey, but at the same time, they're two good players. And then everyone else, if you look at Montreal's cap-friendly page, beside those two, the only player that is locked up for more than 3 years is Jonathan Drouin and Paul Byron. And at least with Paul Byron, his wheels aren't going to fall off. And Jonathan Drouin is young and very skilled, so I will believe they're in a better position than Minnesota. I'm just I'm just saying stuff here, but I don't really know what else there is to say about the Habs. I do think Bergevin will go for it, and I don't have a problem if he does, and I won't have a problem if he decides to trade guys away. But if he is going to trade guys away, it cannot just be Nick Cousins and Nate Thompson. If you're going to sell and make it impactful, and if this is the year to try and get a first-round pick, it needs to be Petrie or Tatar. And you brought him up. I think if anyone's going to get traded, it's going to be Jeff Petrie, because you have a guy like Josh Brook and Cale Fleury, who are right-handed defensemen that are going to fill in a few years, especially Cale Fleury, who was so good this year. But that's all I have to say about Le Bleu, Blanc, et Rouge.
Okay. I have a couple things about the Leafs.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't talk about it last episode because I was a little upset about the fans.
Mm.
But after the Chicago game, Keefe came out, called the team immature, and called the loss against Florida, he called it a week ago, a good slap in the face. I think it's quite obvious who he's calling out, and they've talked about it on a couple of shows now. They've talked about it on Leafs Hour. They talked about it on SDP. It's quite obvious that they're calling out Matthews and Marner. I think because those are the guys. Listen, there's only so much John Tavares can do. Now that you don't have Jake Muzzin and you don't have Morgan Rielly, most of the leadership is on John Tavares. And I get it, he's your captain, he's your guy, but there's only so much that one man can take. I think the team needs to step it up. They made a really good point on on the Steve Dangle podcast, and I'm going to take it because I think it's a really good point.
You source them. It's
to elaborate, just to elaborate on it, that when Patrick Marleau was brought in, he was brought in to not develop, help the younger guys create. They use the word killer instinct. I don't know if that's the word I want to go for, but he was brought in to bring in some type of leadership, build those players leadership wise, because they're young, immature, etc., etc. And sure, it seems like, you know what, he became very good friends with them. He did help them. I just don't think he helped them in the way, or helped them fully in what the team needed, which is a freaking killer instinct, which I still think this team doesn't have. If they had a killer instinct, this team wouldn't be so inconsistent.
And the killer instinct is that thing of locking a game down and saying, we're going to win this.
Right. And I think it's not that I think the team made a mistake bringing in Marleau. I think the Marleau deal was 1 year too long. I think I think Dubas knows that. I think everyone up there in upper management knows that the Marleau deal was 1 year too long. Mm-hmm. I think they brought in the wrong player in the sense that it didn't give them the one thing that they were looking for. The difference between this team and a team like Boston, you look at the young players that came into Boston. You look at Pasternak, you look at McAvoy. Those two are the big ones that pop out to me. Who were they playing with when they were starting their seed, starting their growth? They're playing with Patrice Bergeron. They're playing with Marchand. They're playing with Chara. They're playing with Tuukka Rask. You see, these are guys that have killer instinct. They've been through the playoffs. They've been they have that killer instinct that you need to kind of understand what to do. And it seems like this, when all these players came in, who did they have? No one. They had themselves. P.A. Parenteau wasn't even there. The first year that Matthews, Marner, and Nylander played together, most of that team was young. Then you had JVR and Bozak, who have been playing with the Leafs forever. And I'm sorry, I love the guys. They don't have that killer instinct. They went to the playoffs once before they made the playoffs in 2016. I believe both of them were there. On the back end, okay, you have you didn't have anyone with the kill. You had Ron Hainsey. You see what I mean? Like, there was no one set in place there. You bring in Patrick Marleau, great guy. He's great leadership wise. I mean, his skill last year was not what this team needed, and he was playing way too much. They just bring it. And they said they should have went harder after. They should have went harder after someone like Justin Williams, and another name that I think they should have gone harder after, which they didn't bring up, was Joe Thornton.
Yeah,
and which they were rumored. There was two players that summer who they were going hard after, was Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton. I would have gone, Joe Thornton is a little bit older. I would have gone after Joe Thornton. He has that killer instinct. Just the beard alone. And it has that. You know what I mean? That's what they needed. And that's what I got from that quote, is that the team doesn't have that killer instinct. The team doesn't understand what it means to lose. Yes, they lost 3 years in a row in the first round, but that's nothing. There's 3 more imagine you have to go through 3 more rounds of that. to win a cup. You've lost in the first round 3 times, and that only teaches you so much.
Well, let me ask this.
Yeah.
Because I have heard some Leafs fans saying, and when I hear this, I want to flip a table, and I'm not even a Leafs fan, saying that it wouldn't be the worst thing if they missed. And this is Adam Wild who said this on the Steve Dangle podcast. I love Adam Wild, but I could not disagree more with him about that. Because then you learn. You don't do so much in the regular season. Like, you need to play in the playoffs to learn how to play in the playoffs.
Here's the thing, though. I understand where he's coming from, because what he's saying is, look at the Tampa Bay Lightning last year. The Tampa Bay Lightning had the best regular season in the world. They got swept in the playoffs, and then they started the season awful. They learned from getting swept in the playoffs. They learned from starting the season poorly. You don't necessarily. You need to understand that you have to give it 100%, 110% every single night, every 82 games of the year. And I know I don't, like, Anthony Stewart says this all the time. It's all about the details. And at the end of the day, he's right. It is all about the details. You have to put into place a mentality in your head is that you have to put in 110%, 82 times of the regular season and every bloody game of the playoffs, because you're never going to get anywhere. You're not. You look at the Boston team. How many years have we been saying that, the Boston Bruins are ready to dip because their players are getting older?
I'd say before there were a few. I think it was the year before they played the Sens. The year the Sens went to the conference finals. A lot of us are saying, I don't know about Boston anymore. And then they just said, "Oh, hello there. Do you remember us?" Right,
and it's, you need the killer instinct, and I can't reiterate that enough. But I don't 100% agree with Adam Wild on that. On that statement, I think it teaches them a very good lesson if they miss the playoffs, because what they have now and what they had at the beginning of the season are two different things. They, for the first time in 4 years, they are being held accountable. They haven't been held accountable as members of the Toronto Maple Leafs, because all the pressure, all the media pressure has been on Babcock, because Babcock's the $6 million coach who's supposed to bring you a Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
No one had ever been talking about the players, and finally, the players on this team, especially Marner, especially Matthews, all the young players who hadn't experienced the pain are now experiencing it. And listen, Nylander has been, I think, the most consistent player on this team since day one of the season. Matthews has been struggled at the beginning of the season, picked it up. He's still This is the thing with Matthews. When Matthews is on, he scores tons of goals, and I can see it. I can see that he's trying to learn this defensive end of the game, because I see slight improvements. But the thing with Matthews and with Marner, I see a lot too, is that's on and off, on and off, on off. You can't do on and off, on and off. You're not going to get far in the playoffs.
He has
that's the thing with this
and
team.
He'll still score 40 goals. Like, that's not his issue. Just like, talk about immaturity. That game against the Flyers, when he said we were bad, when it was single-handedly him who lost that game. Like, if you want to be Austin bleeping Matthews, if you want to be the face of that franchise, if you want to be a real leader, you take the blame. And, and what he did, saying we, like, dude, no, come on now. Like, And he doesn't even need to be good defensively. He just needs to not be a liability.
And I think he's working on that. I really do. Like if I'm focused solely on him, I think I'd argue that he has been improving over the season. Especially since Babcock was fired, I think it's worked with him. But the next thing for Keefe, and just I want to throw this out there: whoever the hell is saying Dubas should be fired, I think no. I think the next thing for Keefe is he needs to get the mindset of the players that it's 110% every night. Because when the players are going 110%, that's when you get the 15-4-1 stretch.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you get when you put 110% in. And even during that stretch, there were games that they were off. Listen, players are going to have off nights. I'm not expecting them to have 82 perfect games, because I don't think that's possible. I don't think many players have that. I can think of two who have perfect nights every night.
Well, I mean,
so
to be honest, if they put Martin Marincin in the position to succeed, they would win every game.
Stop it. I get you like Martin Marincin, but he's not the answer. That is kind of it. I think if they miss this year, I mean, damn, I don't know what the situation would look like. I think it'd look bad. I think there'd be a lot of changes that would have to be made. I don't even want to address the Nylander situation, because I just think everyone's just saying trade Nylander. I think, okay, what are you getting back for Nylander? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. What are you getting back for Nylander?
Matt Tumba.
If you're getting something of significance back, go right ahead. Sure, trade Nylander. His value is probably highest right now. But if you're not getting back someone who's going to be there for a while, get out of here. Sorry, it doesn't make sense to trade Nylander for Pietrangelo or Nylander plus for Pietrangelo. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Alex, I can tell you're getting hot here. And Nylander getting traded is something that has been a story for last couple of years, really. But is there anything else besides, because I don't think we want to repeat the whole Nylander trade thing.
No.
Anything else you want to touch on with the Leafs?
No.
Anything else in the league you want to talk about?
No.
I'm looking at a golden retriever laying down in the sun on Twitter right now. Yes, of course. All right. Actually, quickly, I missed this. Do you want me to read the Boko Imama of the Ontario Reign, the guy who Brandon Manning used the racial slur against? You want me to read his statement out quickly? Because I just noticed it.
Sure.
All right. Again, this is from Boko Imama of the Ontario Reign, the player who Brandon Manning used a racial slur against in the game between the Condor and the Reign. Quote, I have taken some time to reflect on what transpired on the ice against Bakersfield Monday night. What happened is unfortunate for everyone. No matter how intense or heated a game gets, there is no room for this in our game and no excuse. I am very proud to be an African-Canadian hockey player and to stand for all other players that are in the same situation as me. I would like to thank the Los Angeles Kings and Ontario Reign, Edmonton Oilers, and Bakersfield Condors for their professionalism in helping me handle the situation. Last but not least, I cannot thank my family and friends for their continued... Last but not least, I cannot thank my family and friends for their continued love and support. I think I can't thank them enough, but it's just not... Okay. At this time, I will not make any further statements or comments, and I would very much appreciate if those wishes were respected. So, taking the high road there. It looks like it was settled quite nicely because he thanks the Oilers and the Condors, of course. But, of course, I think this is something when we eventually do talk about hockey culture that Boku and Mama will be part of it.
Oh, for sure.
All right, Alex. Well, you liked this episode, didn't you?
I think I did.
Well, if the listeners liked it, I think that they should subscribe to the podcast and wherever they're listening to it. If it's iTunes, if it's Spotify, if it's wherever. And if they can on those platforms, they should like it or whatever they can do. They should leave a review. They should leave a rating, anything, 5 stars. Why not, Alex? They should also check out the show's Instagram and YouTube page where we post discussion posts and, of course, little clips from the show where you do all that because you do all the real work behind the scenes. And, of course, check out my YouTube channel because why not? Habs, I'll be uploading a new video probably on Friday talking about the last Habs weekly update. Yeah, I'm going to keep plugging myself. That's right, Alex. I see you smiling. But anyway, lovely listeners, thank you for listening. Check out our social medias as well. And maybe Daniel's if he ever shows back up. He's skating with a contact jersey on, so he'll be back soon.